Hi, Richard Hadden here. So here we are a year into the work from home experiment, and I think it's safe to say that when all this started, we did not expect to be where we are now. I mean, come on, admit it. Back in about May or June of 2020, you started thinking about what it was going to be like to bring people back to the on-site workplace around, say, the end of the summer, after this awful pandemic was behind us. We all did. But at this point, we can't even predict what it's going to be like at the end of this summer. I mean, you've read the same stories I have about complacency-driven risky behavior, pandemic fatigue, virus variants, and vaccine reluctance, all of which carry the potential to drag this thing out longer than we ever imagined. You've also seen that when both workers and employers are polled about their appetite for returning to work on site, the numbers are all over the board, and they've changed since we first started asking. Enough people want to come back and enough want to stay home that the solution will be anything but simple. But for all the uncertainty, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. All indicators point to the adoption of a sustained hybrid workplace model, starting now, or at least pretty soon. This is Workplace Next. So let's get it right. I mean, we've learned in the last year, with varying degrees of success and no small amount of failure, how to manage, if not yet lead, a newly remote workforce. But hey, that's how trial and error works. I mean, nobody had a blueprint for doing this at scale, and sans preparation. Our posts from January 11th and January 19th offer 13 specific tips on the mostly remote thing. But let's talk now about the even bigger challenge, and that is leading the hybrid blend. 3 issues that will require great focus and attention from leaders in the coming months are: issue number 1, leading and uniting a workforce composed of 2 groups who are having very different experiences. Now look, the last thing we need is yet another division in the workforce. The on-sites versus the remotes versus the bouncers, those who do both, depending on the day. And this can show up in the amount of time we spend with people, online or in person, and how we communicate with them, how much we involve their ideas, their input, their influence, and the development opportunities afforded to members of the respective groups. Listen, be careful not to interpret an employee's preference for on-site versus remote as an indication of loyalty, commitment, or engagement. And it can become easy to favor those with whom we share FaceTime and underutilize those we see more often on FaceTime. But that's not a useful distinction. Workers who see each other in person will naturally have different opportunities for building networks and alliances than ones who are working from elsewhere. And I think savvy leaders will work to smooth out those differences as much as they can to the benefit of both workers and the organization. Oh, and we've got to get better at measuring and rewarding performance over visibility, output over endurance. It's the only way to level the field between those working on-site and everyone else. Now, issue number 2 is going to be helping people make yet another major adjustment. That of coming back to a physical location they abandoned for reasons of health and safety, and that will now inevitably be more constraining than the setting they've lately enjoyed. Enjoyed, depending on who you're talking to. I think this will be a bigger deal than many of us are expecting. Industrial psychologists tell us, and you knew this already, that many people have endured trauma since March of 2020, and not only with their jobs. Keep in mind that almost every employer of any size in the U.S. will be welcoming back people who have experienced, at a level greater than ever before, real loss, ranging from important social connections, financial and emotional security, and the comfort of routine, to personal health, domestic stability, and the death of friends and family members. Many will have a further sense of loss when they return to work on site. One, the loss of control over their own personal health bubble, and two, the loss of the daily freedom and autonomy afforded by working from home. And when they do come to the work site for the first time in months, they'll see a once familiar world made somewhat less recognizable by the modifications necessitated by the pandemic. Now, some might think this characterization over-dramatizes the situation a bit, and to those, I would counsel, think some more. Look, all I'm saying is this: go easy. People who are hurting don't do their best work. Good leaders do what they can to help people hurt a little less. Choose your battles wisely. Leaders who need a workforce willing to expend copious amounts of discretionary effort in pursuit of their mission will prioritize the safety and physical and emotional well-being of their employees over short-term profit and compliance with lots of new rules. Because, newsflash, most of your employees really are not trying to cheat the company, as was implied by the chief HR officer of a major corporation in a recent article I read in a well-known business publication. But they do need to know at least two things. One, do you care about them? And two, what do you expect from them? As people are wading back into the water, be super clear about the non-negotiable musts and the reasons behind them. And when you're formulating new processes and procedures, be governed first by science and then by employee preferences, followed closely by customer needs. And remember that in this case, one size fits one. I tell you, if we've learned anything from the work from home experiment, it's that the value of the in-person human connection is greater than we used to think. And look, remember, just because someone prefers to work remotely most of the time doesn't mean they never want to see anyone in person. So look for opportunities, including creative ones, to get people together safely from time to time. I think you'll find this helps. I think you'll find it helps everyone. And issue number 3 is keeping the organization attractive to new and current talent. Because how leaders and organizations manage this next phase will have everything, let me repeat that, I said everything to do with their ability to engage people productively and to attract and retain talent. Remember the competitive labor market? It's coming back too. And to the victor go the spoils. And as much as you may want to have everyone back on site, like in the old days, you may not find that option on your menu. I've already talked to the hiring manager who really wanted a particular candidate, but lost her to a competitor because the other company's post-pandemic work-from-home plan was more attractive. So this has become the new competitive distinction. Position yourself to compete well. In the end, I can offer no more powerful advice than this. Tell people what's going on, trust and expect them to do their best work, and above all, care about them. We got through the last year. We'll get through this. If we can help, let us know.